Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay, can everybody see this and hear me?
Yes.
Fabulous. Alrighty, here we go. So, hello everybody. My name is Sarah Marshall, and today for my English capstone, I will be presenting on new journalism and the death of the American dream. So, as you guys very well know by now, we spent this semester reading and studying the genre of new journalism. Many new journalists, including Joan Didion, Tom Wolfe, and Truman Capote, came about because they were frustrated with the limitations of classical reporting and felt the whole truth wasn't being shared. And new journalism is very unique in its ability to portray depth of a dynamic culture through its sharing of dialogue, dynamic narrative, and very intriguing topics. These intriguing topics were definitely found in Joan Didion's Slouching Towards Bethlehem, Tom Wolfe's The Electric KoolAid Acid Test, and Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. I looked into each one of these works as part of my research, but for the sake of time, I will be focusing on The Electric KoolAid Acid Test and In Cold Blood. In both of these nonfiction novels, it was obvious that each story outlined some radical event in American society that each author saw fit to highlight and explore. Truman Capote's In Cold Blood tells the story of a mysterious and unexpected murder of the Clutter family in Holcomb, Kansas in 1959. Holcomb, Kansas had always seemed a quaint and safe town, but upon this mysterious murder with no apparent motive, the security of its people was shaken, reflecting the false security Americans so desperately hang to. Capote's work twists the American dream and gives insight into the depth of darkness in its culture and its citizens. This book provides emphasis on the falsehood of safety within the American dream and its overall capability for evil. And in Tom Wolfe's The Electric KoolAid Acid Test, we learn about the journey of Ken Kesey and his group of followers called the Merry Pranksters as they journey across the United States while tripping on LSD. Kesey and the Merry Pranksters become famous for the use of LSD and many other psychedelics in hopes of achieving intersubjectivity and going beyond the stereotypical American life. But ultimately, the Merry Pranksters and Kesey find this dream all too elusive and unfulfilling, merely another mirage, as every promise of the American dream seems to be. I noticed this reoccurring theme of the exploration of the American dream throughout these new journalism works, and how they vividly were able to comment and capture a society filled with broken people. Authors were not painting some beautiful image of all the hopes and freedoms and dreams that came with the American lifestyle, but rather its reality. And this sort of commentary seemed to fit perfectly into the style of new journalism. This fascination led me to explore the presentation of the death of the American dream in works of new journalism, believing that new journalism was well suited to chart the demise of the American dream and disrupt its assumed ideals. Writers sought to portray the elusiveness of this dream, and new journalism proved to be the perfect vessel because of its combination of relatable truth and dynamic fantasy. America's broken identity was made palatable and indispensable by utilizing dialogue, dramatic irony, dynamic narrative, facts, the reader's imagination, and the reader's context of living. So, in many modes of media today, the American dream is presented as idyllic, hopeful, and pure. The American dream can be seen in any car commercial, grocery store commercial, political propaganda. It's simply all around and quite obvious. It's the common idea of rugged individualism, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, make a name out of yourself sort of dream. However, this perfect idealistic image of America is never going to last and withstand the brokenness of its people. The freedom offered in America is truly a blessing, don't get me wrong, but it does not mean nothing bad is going to happen, nor does it promise success, and nor does it promise happy or content feelings all of the time. Yet, continually, all we see in media and all around us is the perfect image of America, that everything is as it ought to be, when beneath the surface are wild, dangerous, and real experiences. And I believe this is exactly where new journalism found its niche, wanting to tell the story behind the image of a dream and break conventional expectations. New journalism broke away from the norm of classical reporting and sought to tell the full, complete story by utilizing creativity, imagination, and popular experience. Capote specifically disrupted Americans' assumptions of safety. In this top picture, we see the Clutters family home in the seemingly safe small town of Holcomb, Kansas. Yet within this home, we find cold-blooded murder in this small town to not be as safe as hoped. Additionally, Tom Wolfe disrupts the stereotypical American life. In this bottom picture, we see Ken Kesey and his gang of merry pranksters gathered around their bus. This is a gang of misfits searching for identity outside of the stereotypical realm. We experience and get to journey along with a people who are not satisfied with the American dream. New journalism welcomes the disruption of taken for granted ideological assumptions of how life should be prescribed, myth, by removing disguises and adding flair. It effectively challenges the conventional by being exactly the opposite, unconventional, and telling the full dynamic story behind a simple news report utilizing irony, descriptive language, dramatic dialogue, and painting a full and complete picture. So here is an excerpt from the electric KoolAid acid test, when Kesey realizes the power of psychedelics to transform an individual's experience. He says, "The youth had always had only three options: go to school, get a job, or live at home. And how boring each was, compared to the experience of the infinite, in a life in which the subject is not scholastic or bureaucratic, but me and us, the attuned ones amid the non-musical, shiny black shoe multitudes." LSD offered freedom from the bounds society placed on individuals, and individuals really desired that. It was attractive to them. They wanted to find more meaning to life. This book wasn't mere reporting on this gang of freaks riding in a bus together across the country. Rather, it told the reason and shared the full story. We are able to read why these people were doing this and what they were running away from, which they ultimately were running away from a dream that wasn't satisfying them. Wolfe vibrantly shared this wild story, and it is nothing less than a countercultural origin story. He placed himself and the reader in the narrative. Dreams were intensified, satisfaction was achievable, and individuals explored a life of intersubjectivity. The American dream said you must live in the shiny black shoes culture, but the merry pranksters sought to find a culture of their own. Readers were placed in a journey toward finding purpose that ultimately was never to be found in psychedelics. Breaking the status quo was real life and a living reality of the fleeting American dream. And here, alongside this picture of the Clutter family, we have an excerpt from In Cold Blood, after the Clutter family had been murdered and the entire town was questioning their safety. One of the Clutter family's neighbors says, "Who hated the Clutters? I never heard a word against them. They were about as popular as a family can be. And if something like this could happen to them, then who's safe, I ask you? What a terrible thing when neighbors can't look at each other without kind of wondering." Oh, my bad. The idyllic safe haven of America was ruptured in one afternoon after this innocent family had been brutally murdered in their own home. And no longer was this community one of family and friends, but rather suspects. No news report told the story and the dynamic of how the community shifted after this event, but a work such as In Cold Blood was able to paint this complete and very chilling story because of the opportunity the style of new journalism offered it. So Capote does an incredible job of challenging the status quo by paralleling liberty, freedom, and safety with corruption and self-deception. Capote not only brought the town and the killers into question, he also brought the culture into question. Again, a possibility within the creative scope of new journalism. Reading this story makes you wonder, if the culture is defective, can we blame those who destroy, however cryptically in its name? The Clutter family had choices, just as Dick and Perry, the murderers, had choices. The Clutters chose to live a simple, innocent life as a family, while Dick and Perry chose to murder them. Capote utilized dramatic impact, empathy, and factual evidence to build tension and tell a very convicting story. It was convicting because it revealed the true brokenness of the simply assumed American dream. New journalism was very powerful in portraying truth because it did not have to have an answer to or fix the broken dream it presented, which gave the style freedom to explore the broken pursuit of aimless ideals. New journalism was not normal reporting, simply seeking to share a story with the public in the most conventional and easy way. New journalism was reporting with vivid commentary. It questioned the assumed safety of America, the assumed morals of America. It questioned the assumed people of America. And ultimately, it questioned the assumed satisfaction within the scope of classic American living. New journalism was culture in action and provided a means to tell the news naturally and authentically. And it made the obscure dream of America an unfortunate and often satirical reality. New journalism was sporadic, creative, and disruptive in the way it told the news. So in conclusion, new journalists examine the same cultural phenomena sociologists and historians do, but deal with the issues with the kind of humor, irony, and exaggeration that only art allows. Through them, it is possible to trace the migration of the American dream in popular imagination. Readers become a part of America's broken past and present, and new journalism was able to effectively and creatively share the truth behind the perfect image of America and the broken pursuit of its people. New journalism transformed a mirage of hope into a real exposition of individuals' search for identity. The disruption of this dream pushed people to search for that identity apart from the culture they live in. And finally, new journalism really reshaped how the American dream is perceived. The American dream is now seen through the lens of truth, imagination, and everyday experience. Through new journalism, a true story with an already existing plot is developed into a wild expository journey that we as readers get to fully experience, much like the American dream it often follows. A history we as Americans experience every day with an already existing demise because it is run by a broken set of dreamers. And this is why I was passionate about this topic, because it aligns with what I already know to be a reality. New journalism has an incredible ability to outline and expose human nature and society as a whole. Throughout these tales, individuals were placing their hope in the place they lived, in other people, in a road trip, or in psychedelics. Yet, these only led to disappointment. As a Christian, I know the only thing that will ever satisfy my heart is Jesus Christ. People are on an endless pursuit of a mere dream. But Jesus Christ is a living reality who died and rose again, and he offers freedom, forgiveness, eternal life, and hope, promising that those who come to him will neither hunger nor thirst. So really, these incredibly witty, well-written, and enjoyable books only reinforced the truth that humans are broken people searching for identity and satisfaction that can only be found in Jesus. So for that reason, I thought researching new journalism's presentation of humans' pursuits of their own definition of happiness was truly compelling. Thank you. And here's my works cited and my images I used. And does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much, Sarah. I'm going to defer to the chat session and let you address the questions you choose.
Let me see. It seems like new journalism. Yes, Dr. Barr, I completely agree. It shifts the whole idea of wanting to like have this extreme patriotism and hoorah feeling of America, and it breaks down that certainty and strength that I feel Americans often find within their country and their culture, but alas is not really there. So yeah, I fully agree with you. Is the American dream just a media creation then? Um, I don't think it's just a media creation, but I think it is definitely a creation of Americans, just this sort of dream and idyllic reality we've created in whatever form to offer hope and to offer goals for people to shoot for. Um, because I mean, we have a lot of opportunity in America. Like I said, there is a lot of freedom and hope, and that's great. But the whole idea that everything's perfect, I think, is a creation of media, of politicians, and other major like news platforms.
Last chance for questions.
Um, yes and no. I'm not exactly sure what what do you mean? I guess yes, I would say in a sense it is postmodernism in that it stems away from like classic happy-go-lucky thinking.
All right. Well, very good. Thank you very much, Sarah and questioners. And everybody, please raise your hands and give Sarah a virtual sign of your gratitude. Um, we are going to now transition to our last presenter, and that is